Hey everybody, it's Lynn from A Bit of Birdsong. Sometimes the most unlikely things go together to make a really beautiful project. I've got some new items in the shop. I have 3 more fun packs. I always make 4 and usually I keep one for myself. And so they're all packaged up and ready to go out. There are pictures on Etsy, so I'm not going to take all of those little items out. I went in search for pink the other day and I hit the jackpot. I also have 3 fabric packs here. There are 11 pieces of fabric in each one of these. Some of them are fairly large. I had 4 packs. Again, I saved 1 for myself, and then I just had the best time yesterday. So let me just pull this whole stack over. These are remnants from the 2 packs that I used. And I had the best time yesterday just sitting down, pulling everything out, and making a journal out of what was in front of me. Each of these packs has got a pretty good length of this jute webbing. This is like you use for upholstery for chairs. And it has, all of these packs have got some beautiful pages from an herbal cookbook. And I just love the illustrations. Now I've pulled a lot of the prettiest ones out of this pack. They're all pretty, but I wanted some botanical, herbal little illustrations, you know, like this. And there are some really interesting recipes in here. And a lot of little pieces of information like this. Mint was a symbol of hospitality by the Romans. They scoured their serving plates with mint before serving guests, which is very interesting. So I'm not quite done with this journal I'm playing in. I'm going to go back through and cut out the things like that to go into the journal. I love doing things like that. The journal is pretty much complete though, as far as being put together. So I wanted to come on here and share the journal, just show you how it turned out. So these pieces of fabric are wonderful. These were designer samples. I went ahead and washed all of it. So the packs that are in the shop, they have been washed as well. And look at just these beautiful, and if there was any finish or Scotchgard or anything like that, I feel like it takes that off for the most part when you wash it. And then you end up with a more vintage feeling fabric. So I still have a lot of scraps here. And I think I might start offering some scrap packs, like snippets in bags, because I do end up with so much fabric. Look at that. And then this, I think, let me get down here to what was my absolute favorite. The beautiful color of pink in that and the beautiful flowers in that ended up being my favorite, and I used a lot of that out of my pack. The fun packs each have a large piece of canvas. I used a lot of that as well. So let's look at the journal. I just wanted to show you some of the things I have left that I'm still sort of playing with. I had originally pictured this jute to maybe go around the outside, but then I forgot about it. And I put a lot on the cover of this journal, so I didn't want to come back and cover any of that up with the jute. Oh, look at this. So another thing that each fun pack has, 4 beads. And I love these beads so much. I found a bracelet that had all of these beautiful beads with bees on them. So each fun pack has got a large bead with the bee, and then it's the next smallest one. It's got the flower on it, and then 2 smaller beads. And they're all in these really pretty earthy colors. Some of the packs, I think the smaller beads might be a little more on the blue side or like the tan side, but they all have like this same array of beads. Each one has some hug snugs, so I took mine and just dropped it into my coffee mixture while I was creating, and took it out and dried it with the hairdryer to tie around the journal. On the front of mine, I've got this really distressed stamped piece of fabric that says journal. I tore a piece out of this fabric that's got the butterflies. So I tore that out, put it on a piece of canvas, and sewed that on the front. And then this little plate, Be Fierce, Just Like the Goddess You Are, I found that at a thrift store that I like to visit. So it was a necklace, but that's really not jewelry quality. I don't think. It's very lightweight. It's like aluminum, and it was on a piece of leather, which I really like. That actually matches. But I wanted this. I knew I was buying it for the front of a journal, so I put that on there. This journal is called Cottage Garden Cigar. That might seem a bit crazy, but again, I love to just try to work with what is in front of me and see what kind of personality comes out in the journal. And there were so many gorgeous cottage garden fabrics and flowers in this pack of fabric. And then in the fun pack, there were quite a few pages from a book of cigars. And the book is in Spanish. I love cigar labels, cigar boxes. I know many of us do. So I called it Cottage Garden Cigar, and you're going to see that as we go through. Each one of the packs had a library card, so I just put that in the top pocket here. And I did really enjoy using all of the fabrics and layering them to make 3 pockets in the front and then 3 in the back. And let's see if I can. The first pocket that I put down, and let's pull these out. You can see I stitched across the front there, and I made sure it lined up with this because I didn't want a random stripe of stitching going across the front. But I did want the top pocket not to be so long that things would get lost in it. And then once I sewed that little edge right there, I laid the other 2 pieces of fabric down and sewed right around here. This little piece of fabric is glued over the brads, and there's glue under this as well to try to make sure that stays in place, because I had to use really small brads for the holes in this, and you know, the part that opens to keep it in place, that part was really short, so I didn't want it to pull out, you know. Anyway, I hope I'm making sense. If it does pull out, it's not the end of the world. I can just go back with some stitching and hand stitch that into place, which I've done that many times. So the tag has got some of the jute. It's basically a book page that's been folded up. I love the little sprig of herbs there. And I just wrote Cottage Garden Cigar. It's got a grommet in it. It's on the front with just a safety pin right now. So I turned this page with the cigar label into an envelope. Each one of the packs had some old book pages, all sorts of images. Some of them are men. I have one in here that was a man. Some are women. Some look a bit religious. They're just old, and things like that are so much fun to use. And there's this beautiful little card from Victorian Trading Company. I love their items so much. So it's just blank, and put it back up here. And then once we get started, there is some of the paper that has the pokeberry staining. Now this is soaked into the page. I wouldn't recommend eating this paper. I don't think anybody's going to, but I feel compelled to say that, you know, pokeberry is poison. It's dried at this point. It's dried into the paper. I think it's beautiful, and it really ties in with all of this beautiful fabric. And I didn't really mention this. So the beads come in these little burlap sacks or bags, and I just sewed a piece of fabric around, you know, not across the top, obviously, because that would make it where you couldn't use it. So there's really a pocket here too. But I just pinned mine on. I stamped stuff on the front and used one of the buttons in the kit just to sew onto this thing that I glued into place. So all of this was done before it went on the canvas bag. So you can just see these beautiful herbal pages. And I did cut out some things. I love flowers hanging around the workshop, and in my old house it used to be something just on a regular basis that flowers were always hanging and drying somewhere in the house from the garden. There was an upholstery fabric sample, so I cut mine down and made a pocket. And here we start getting into the cigars, and I love this. I mean, I can see a man and a woman. You know, he's been working all day and he smokes cigars. She keeps the house, she keeps the garden, everything's immaculate. She does not smoke, except every once in a while. She will be the fierce goddess that she knows she is, and she will sit down with her husband, who has invited her to sit down and smoke a cigar, so they will enjoy that together. And the personality of this book just came right out. She's got all these recipes from the garden. I just love it. I love this book. I wanted to show you though, in case anybody's interested in buying these kits and making their own or using your own things. Don't be afraid if you look at two things and they feel like they can't possibly go together. Life is not like that. All of us have things that just come together because it's what the universe sends to us, and they make a beautiful canvas. I like that. So some of these pages have the beautiful cases that the cigars come in. And there was a wallpaper sample that I just sewed. So I've been doing this more lately instead of just sewing something to a page, because the stitches tend to pull and the sewing machine needle can kind of perforate things. So I've been sewing a piece of paper on the back of whatever I stitch into place, kind of to sturdy up the page and make it so that it can't just tear away too easily. There's another library card catalog card, more recipes. This page was from a large book that had really interesting illustrations. It's about life on the ocean and the history of that, sort of maritime exploration and things like that. More recipes. Some of these pages I just laid side by side and used this paper tape, which I love. It is adhesive on the back, so you can just wet that tape and, you know, make a really sturdy way to keep the pages together and make a signature. Sometimes I use masking tape. I do love the paper tape. So here we have more recipes. And there's one of the pages that's been taped together. I have stamped some butterflies throughout here. And then there's the center of the book. There were a few circles from maps that I cut out. I do offer these in the shop from time to time. I don't have any right now. This is a project that I have to do when I'm sitting down with Jason at night, you know, in front of the TV or whatever, because it's a little bit time consuming to just punch and punch and punch. And, you know, I put 50 in a pack, so I like to be in a mood to sit down and work on those all at one time. Cigar labels are so beautiful, and I love that this is in Spanish. There are a couple of the notched Alice in Wonderland playing cards. Thought these were really pretty. You might have seen those in the last video or two. I can't remember. Made a pocket out of some of the fabric. I wanted to incorporate just as much fabric as possible. So got a little bit of the adhesive from the tape there that you can see. And when I do something like that, if I don't want to see where it's torn, I might distress it some more, and let's soak up the excess so we don't make it even weaker. And I dry it. Again, this is one of those things that the universe sent my way, and I didn't plan on that sticking together, but now we have this spot here. If you feel like it weakens the page too much, if something like that happens, just come back and put some masking tape on it, and, you know, it just makes it more and more organic. There's one of the old book pages. I cut him out, and I think it's funny that he's sitting right under Italian potato salad. So this journal is really ready to work in. There's some craft paper in each one, kind of like grocery bag paper. More of the beautiful pokeberry. And then I stamped this little piece of craft paper to make a pocket. And I used the water to run the ink a little bit, so it's very faint. And I thought this page was pretty. I think each one has a page similar to this, but it talks about the different herbs and, you know, a little bit about them and what you can do with them. I just folded mine up and put it in here. There is a book page. I just folded mine up and put in here. That's one of the Asian languages. I'm not going to guess. I not sure, I don't remember. And then each one has some buttons. So I used some of mine. I took it apart. Like, let's go back. Did I even mention this? I have a bookmark in here that I made with a piece of the jute webbing, and I sewed a button to the top, and then I had a little tag floating around the desk that had a safety pin through it. So I just put that in mine. But the other thing, I just put, you know, there's this beautiful dictionary page that's got a botanical image. And I like to have things tucked into journals that you can work with. You can pull it out and do something different with it. This, I just stamped the word junk. Things like this are fun to have if you want to put a little label in it, or if you find a safety pin in a parking lot or something like that. And then I love the way these turned out. So I really distressed these little coin envelopes. And they're all empty. They feel really crinkly. And I cut out little rectangles of the fabric and glued onto the fronts of the envelopes after they dried. So these are ready to put something in. You know, if you have little dried flowers or paper clips or whatever, you know, stickers, stamps, I don't know what you want to put in here. And again, I did this pocket the same way. There is a stitch across there that I put onto that pocket before I sewed the others on to keep this pocket not quite as deep as it would be if I didn't do that. So that stitch did run across the back of the journal. And then I put my birdsong stamp on in a way to go right across that. I love the way this turned out. I was just in the mood for pink and flowers and a project. Sometimes I have to just sit down and make something or I go crazy. And I know a lot of creative people, we're like that. We just, will that go around again? Maybe. We feel like we just have to make things. Not everybody's like that. A lot of people are like that. A lot of us are like that. And then some people are not interested in that. And that's great also. Some people thrive more, I think, on just interacting with other people and just observing. And that's good too. The world needs us all. Okay, I am going to get busy with the next project. I've got little scraps that I want to do something with. And again, I might offer snippet bags. Would anybody be interested in something like that? Just like a gallon bag of all sorts of fabric scraps. Because I do have some pretty ones. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back really soon. Bye for now.